Hello, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. And we have a lot of bad news, as you know, and a lot of good news. And I was just listening to the speaker this morning talking about we live in an era of deception and betrayal. So I can't get in trouble for those words because we're censored, as you all know right now. But deception and betrayal. And the reason I'm concerned is I have never seen it this bad. I mean, I knew it was coming. Blair's been with me for 40, 50 years now. That's all I talk about. We're effed. We're effed. I don't trust the Treasury. I don't trust the Fed. I don't trust Wall Street. And I don't trust the banks. And I definitely don't trust the government. So anyway, we're at this time right now. So this is March 2023. And unless you're living under a rock, in 2008, I was on CNN with Wolf Blitzer, and I was saying Lehman Brothers was coming down, and it came down. And this past Monday, I don't know the date, but this was March 2023, I was on Neil Cavuto's show, and I said Credit Suisse was coming down, and Credit Suisse came down. And, people think it's a nice, happy little bank, Credit Suisse, one of the biggest criminal money laundering banks in the world. And they should have come down, but they just let them go. And then now BlackRock is going down. And so the real estate market is going to go down. So this is March 2023. So what's the good news? Well, the good news is a lot of people are looking for jobs. Excuse me, I shouldn't laugh. But anyway, I mean, when I met Blair years and years and years ago in Hawaii, we were just struggling. We didn't know how to sell. You were working for Barrows, and I was working for Xerox, and we were knocking on doors. Now, the reason this is important is we're talking about today, we're doing a seminar April 6th, 7th, and 8th here in Scottsdale, Arizona, one of the few ones we ever do. And Blair's going to be teaching an important part of that seminar, and it's sales. And Blair's one of the leading sales trainers in the world, so you have a chance to come to the 6th, 7th, and 8th, Scottsdale, Arizona. And it's going fast, not too many seats left. But anyway, if you can't sell, you're always afraid of losing your job. Isn't sure that's true, Blair?
Yeah, always, because sales equals income. If you can't sell, whether you're an employee, even an employee, if you can't sell yourself, you can't get a raise. If you can't sell yourself to even get a job, why would somebody want to hire you?
Well, how about if your monthly nut is $1,000 and all you are is a 50% performer? You bring in $500, your family is screwed.
That's right. So everything is about sales.
So give us a little bit of your background, Blair, on sales and all that, how we met and the insanity we've gone through. When was that?
That was in the early 1980s, I believe, something like that, late 70s. And I moved all the way to Hawaii, and you lived in Hawaii, and I figured all my friends that had money were in sales, so I figured I'd get a job, and I was so bad I almost got fired the first week. It was terrible. But you know what? When you're out there by yourself, you got no backup, no support, you better learn quickly. Otherwise, I'm sleeping on somebody's couch.
Yep.
And it was about pounding on doors. No internet, no nothing. They handed you a big, fat business directory, slammed it down on the table, and said, go. That was
social media, none of that stuff.
Nothing.
No TikTok dancers jumping around the place. Jeez. But anyway, like for me, I was coming out of the Marine Corps in 74, and I said to my rich dad I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And because my poor dad wanted me to get my PhD, of course, fly for the airlines to get a PhD. I'm going, oh, my God, my old man was broke. Poor dad was broke because he ran for lieutenant governor of the state of Hawaii, and the dirtiest business there is politics. And the governor said to my dad, poor dad, he says, you'll never work in the state again. And my poor dad went poor. I mean, up until that time, he was okay. But once he could not work, then he couldn't sell. And so I come out of the Marine Corps, and he's telling me, oh, go fly for the airlines. United Airlines is hiring, and go back to school and get your PhD like me. And I said, that's what my saying is PhD stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. Jesus, I mean, he couldn't sell. So I go to a rich dad, and I go, what should I do? I'm being an entrepreneur. He says, gotta sell. I'm going, oh, my God, that's the worst thing possible. This is 1974. And because my old man, poor dad, kept saying, he says, salesman of the scum, da-da-da-da-da-da. And so I said to Rich Dad, why do I have to sell? He says, how's your sex life? I says, terrible. He says, because you can't sell, So I got a job with Xerox in Honolulu, and I had to go home to my poor dad and apologize. I said, I'm a disappointment to you because I got a job as a salesman. And that's when it started, and it was horrible,
Knocking on doors.
Knocking on doors. And if you don't sell, you don't eat.
That's right.
And then, congratulations, you're fired. And when Blair and I, just before the thing started, it was every Monday morning. I mean, I'm always testing people as well. How many sales they freeze. You can feel them just pucker,
Right.
They need some X-Lax or something. But every Monday morning, what happened in the sales?
Well, in the sales room, everybody's numbers go up on the board.
Yep.
Your name, your number of calls, your number of contacts, number of deals, and how many you're going to close and how many you did close. And you know what? Salesmen lie, but numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
And everybody knew that. And it was like people on Fridays, people were running all over Honolulu trying to getting some numbers because nobody wanted to be embarrassed on Monday morning when those numbers would go up. But it was still to this day the most powerful sales motivational tool.
It's personal. People talk about, I'm in personal development. Well, show me your numbers. Show me your financials. Show me your numbers. And so Monday morning we'd go in, and this is in downtown Honolulu. It was a coffee shop called Arthur's Coffee Shop. And all the sales studs, they'd all, I'm going to sell this many machines, Xerox machines, da-da-da-da. But they'd be down sipping coffee. They listen to the sales meeting as at 8. At 10:30, they're sipping coffee and going, well, you guys aren't doing a very good job here. So you met my friend Larry Clark, right?
Right.
And he and I both were at Xerox. And he taught me one of the best lessons ever. He says, I start selling on Sunday night. So he would go in on Sunday night, or he and I would go in. We'd prepare all of our sales proposals on Sunday night. So on Monday morning, those road warriors they all smoking the cigarettes and, talking big with their 3-piece suits on and the little tricky mustaches, typical salesman. And then so I was out dropping off proposals on Monday morning, picking up on Wednesday, posting my numbers on Friday. And that's when, I became a salesman. But I still had to apologize to poor Dad because he was a PhD and he says, salesmen are scum,
Right.
And he's broke. And all these layoffs right now, he's not telling the truth. And how many people is Microsoft laying off? 10,000. Amazon's laying off 10,000. The banks are crashing. How many people are going to lose their job? But the most important skill they have to use as an entrepreneur
is you have to be able to sell.
Yeah. So April 6th, 7th, 8th, Blair Singer, who's been all over the world, he traded some of the biggest companies in the world on how to tell these corporate guys how to sell, because they're some of the worst. These corporate guys, they hide behind their PhDs and MBAs and all this crap, but they can't sell.
That's right. They call themselves consultants, development experts, all kinds of things, but they don't sell. And at the end of the day, the numbers speak the story.
Yeah, and they say sales executive. No, you're a scummy little salesman like me.
It's a sales rep. Is there a problem with that? You have a problem with that?
So anyway, so you're going to be at April 6th, 7th, 8th. People say, well, why can't you stream it online? Because it's interactive.
That's right.
Yeah, we don't teach via Zoom and all that stuff. Now you got to be there or be square, show up or go home with your tails between your legs. Why don't you Zoom it in so I can sit here and watch it on my convenience?
Yeah, because that's it. Because you're going to watch it at your convenience, and that's the problem.
And Blair is going to put you. Blair will put you through your paces. Put up or shut up, as we say in the Marine Corps.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm going to show you something else here. This is here the BI triangle. For those of you can see it. Can you see it, Sarah? So this is military school here. I went to military school. So the first thing you learn is mission. Then you have a team, and they teach you to be a leader. So I had that going for me, plus 6 years of the U.S. Marine Corps, and they teach you how to handle your emotions. Most of these snowflakes coming out of school today, I don't know what they're smoking, what they got between their legs anymore, but they got no cojones. They just don't know how to do it. So this is the BI triangle. There's ES, the cash flow quadrant, and then B and I. So number one is product. So when I watch Shark Tank, I got my product. Big deal. The next question they ask on Shark Tank is it patented? Oh, no. Next is, what's your system of distribution? What my good product, I sell dog biscuits or whatever you sell. This is the line here is communication. And the sharks go right down this list. If you ever watch that, it's a great program. They say, how are you going to tell? How's your marketing? How's your packaging and all this stuff? Because this is what Blair was saying, says sales equals income.
That's right.
And when you meet somebody who can't sell, their income is down, right?
That's right. Anytime you meet somebody that's complaining about income, lifestyle, all that stuff, one thing that they're not telling you is they can't sell.
They can't sell. They're afraid of rejection and all that stuff.
It's a legitimate fear, but it's an overcomable fear.
We all have it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes rejection.
Right.
Well, except one guy, Harry. Remember Harry Barujas? Harry Barujas was a guy in Melbourne, Australia. If you looked up Born Salesman, it was Harry, My favorite line of Harry was, "Excuse me, is that my money in your pocket?"
He was ruthless.
But he was funny, I'd sit there and laugh, and I'd buy something from the guy just because he was so good at what he did.
Right. Right.
So that guys are naturals at it, right?
That's right. They're people that are natural. I think everybody's got it.
Yes.
But everybody's just afraid of it. I've got kids. And
they sell,
and they know how to sell. And if you got a kid, and your kid knows how to sell, and you don't, he's taking you for a ride.
Well, look at a baby, man. If you don't feed them, what do?
Scream.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
But somehow, like my poor dad said, well, salesmen are scum. My mom hated salesmen, but they were professionals. I'm a teacher and I'm a nurse, and they couldn't sell.
But they can't generate income. They have their livelihood is based upon somebody else being able to sell for them.
Yeah. And can you learn how to sell by watching a YouTube video?
No.
Because what it takes is real life fear, pressure, rejection, all that stuff. So that's what we're going to have April 6th, 7th, and 8th here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Blair's one of the leading trainers in the whole world. He travels the world. Name some of the organizations you teach.
Well, we work with big organizations like Singapore Airlines, IBM, all the L'Oreal hair brands around the world.
That's Redken too, right?
Yeah, that Redken's part of L'Oreal. Yeah,
Okay.
so a lot of them, but thousands, tens of thousands of entrepreneurs in groups, and we put them through their paces.
Yeah,
we put them through their paces. I mean, it's like, if you can't sell, you hardly get out of the course. And we put them through, give them some tools, put them through some exercises, and some people make more money in 10 minutes than they've made in 10 months.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you're not used to the fear and terror you go through, that's the problem, is emotion.
That's right.
And so, Blair has his books here. It's called Sales Dogs and Team Code of Honor. These are essential. But I think I'm going to talk about Sales Dogs when you come back, because on YouTube and all this stuff, there's a lot of Chihuahuas. You know what I mean? So Blair goes, name some of the dogs out there in sales.
Well, there's the Pitbull. That's the one nobody wants to be, the aggressive, never take no for an answer. Then there's the Poodle, the charming Poodle that loves to schmooze with people.
I sell real estate and buy my house.
That's right. But then there's the Chihuahua.
The Chihuahua. By the way, there's a big dog, right?
Well, yeah, there's a big dog, which is any one of the 5 breeds, but they're just an oversized version of it.
Yeah.
Right? They talk a big story. Bragging is their number one sport.
Cowboy boots and hats on.
That's it. Big buckles.
Yeah. And then the Chihuahua is who?
The Chihuahua is the data freak.
Yeah.
These are the people that like bits and bytes, and they'll talk 100 miles an hour. You will understand less than 2% of what they're talking about, but they're legends in their own mind. They just go on and on and on, have no concept that they're talking to anybody else.
They sound intelligent.
That's right. So they just again, they can do well, but they just got to learn to shut up. Okay, so that's the deal.
And I'm going to be called a racist for this, but I'm fourth generation Japanese American. I was listening to this Japanese guy. Obviously probably went to Stanford or Harvard, one of those A students, which I never was. And he was talking about the Japanese bank crisis. And I was really interested. I wanted, Japan went down in 1990. And when they go, the whole world's going to go, Japan. So I'm listening to this guy. I'm going to find out what the BOJ, the Bank of Japan's doing. This guy had so much data. I fell asleep. But he sounded intelligent, a little mousy Japanese guy. I'll get my ass for this one. But, all the guys I hated at school. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Data is not sales.
No.
Data and information is not sales at all.
Yeah.
Sales has always been the same. You find out what people want, what concept, and help them get it. That's it.
And what I love the most is my final line of this whole thing, because I went to Xerox to learn how to sell. They fly me from Hawaii to Virginia, put me in a room, just like Blair's going to do, and you got to sell. You sell, and you sit there and you sweat, and then if you don't make it, you're fired. I mean, it's that fast. That's real life, you know what I mean? Oh, no. I have a PhD. I'm an MBA. I don't have to sell. Like, oh, my God. So every time somebody says to me, because I flunked out of high school because I can't write, and not that I can't write. The teachers don't like what I write. But anyway, I said, you can't write. I said, that's correct, but I can sell. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is still, after 20-something years, #1 in the world. And we'll come back more. We'll talk about more what you have to do if you really want to learn how to sell, because sales equals
income.
We'll be right back.
Robert already warned us. 2023 is going to be the year of lost wealth. After all, Goldman Sachs predicts you'll see zero returns from stocks for the rest of 2023. And investors like you have already made a record number of emergency hardship withdrawals from their 401ks. Now, a stunning survey reveals that over half the Americans making six figures are living paycheck to paycheck. Combined with tens of thousands of layoffs in just the last few weeks, it becomes clear that a financial storm is brewing and nobody is safe. But if you think brilliant investors like Robert are letting their money waste away in a 60-40 portfolio, think again. For years, Robert and other experts have been investing millions into low correlation assets that can still climb when the stock market flatlines. And according to a recent Citibank report, of the major asset classes, the lowest correlation belongs to art. That's right. Contemporary art prices have outpaced the S&P 500's total return over the last 26 years by 131%. Now you can enter this market without needing millions, thanks to Masterworks, our longtime partner. Their platform lets you invest in shares of paintings by icons like Picasso and Banksy. Every single one of Masterworks' exits to date have delivered positive returns to their investors, with the last three delivering 10, 13, and 35% net. No wonder over 650,000 users have invested more than $500 million on Masterworks. Offerings have sold out in minutes, but Rich Dad listeners can skip the waitlist by going to masterworks.art/richdad. That's masterworks.art/richdad. See important disclosures at masterworks.com/CD. If you're concerned about high inflation, looming recession, a stock market correction, or out of control spending in Washington, this is an important message to hear. Because the fact is, during every major crisis in U.S. history, many of those who failed to prepare watched their savings, investments, or retirement funds go down, while many with the foresight to own gold helped preserve their purchasing power. Gold even made some folks richer. Now we're facing several major crises at once, and experts say we may soon face even more economic trouble. So please don't wait. Learn the simple way you can diversify with gold and put yourself on the road to financial peace of mind, even in uncertain times. The new free 2023 Gold Guide from our friends at Gold Alliance can show you how. Just visit www.freegoldguide.com/Robert or call 1-800-473-4585. Republican Governor and conservative commentator Mike Huckabee says Gold Alliance is the only gold provider he recommends to his friends and family. Find out why and visit freegoldguide.com/Robert or call now at 1-800-473-4585.
Feeling powerless over current events and your financial future? Financial freedom is your freedom. Robert Kiyosaki is the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Over 40 million people have taken Robert's advice. Now it's your turn. Attend Robert's free virtual wealth building event. Claim your free access now at richdadfree.com. Don't wait, access is limited. Go to richdadfree.com. That's richdadfree.com.
Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. You can listen to the Rich Dad Radio program anytime, anywhere on Android, YouTube. And then you can also go to Rich Dad Radio and go to our podcast. Well, this will be repeated. The reason we repeat is because repetition is how we learn. You don't learn to play golf with taking one lesson. But also you can listen to have your friends, family members, and people, or especially your business partners, and you're in a business who can't sell. You better understand what we're saying on this one. Because sales equals
income.
And Blair and I have been friends for years. He worked for Burroughs. I worked for Xerox in Honolulu. And Sarah asked the question. So, Sarah, what's the definition of sales?
Yeah, what is the definition of selling?
When somebody else's money is in your pocket. Okay. If you don't have that, you haven't done a sale. You've done a pitch. You've done a nice presentation, and all this stuff. But show me the money in my pocket.
That's right. It's conversion. It's when that money transfers over to you. When somebody said, yes, I agree, but a lot of people agree, but they don't pay.
Right.
And so the whole idea is part of the selling cycle is not just closing a deal. It's when the money clears your bank. That's when the sale is done.
But it's not that, he high pressured him, he lied, he cheated and all that. Look, we're living in the age of deception and betrayal. I cannot believe how bad the U.S. Treasury, the Fed, Wall Street, the banks are lying to us. The Biden crime family, and people, millions are losing their jobs as we speak right now. And then so what they're going to do is give them, welfare or whatever they give them. This is really a dangerous, dangerous time in world history. So your number one skill as an entrepreneur is ability to
sell.
Yeah. So on April 6th, 7th, 8th, Blair will be there. My whole team will be there. Talk about, the salesmanship begins when the customer says no, right? That's when it begins.
There was a sign in our branch when I first went there. It says salesmanship begins when the customer says no. And I figure, I got to learn how to handle some objections. So I go out the first day, I get hammered. People I couldn't even make a pitch. They kicked me out.
Yeah.
And after a couple days,
I couldn't get past the secretary.
Right. And so after a couple of days of that, I figure this is it. I can't sell. I'm going to go quit. I looked at the sign one more time. I'm going in to quit, and it goes, salesmanship begins when the customer says. Then the light bulb went on. It had nothing to do with the customer. It had nothing to do. The toughest sale of all was me selling me to me.
Yeah.
And so what I find for most people is the same thing, that the number one sell is you got to sell you to you. When adversity comes, people kick you out, tell you you're a scumbag, and everything's looking bad. Now this is when the selling begins. You got to sell yourself to get your backside back up again and go out and take it on again.
Yeah. And that's why those Monday morning meetings were so important. In the sales room, we call it the bullpen. These 20 guys. There's only 2 women at the time, and we had to. So on this day, I'm going to sell this many machines, and then Friday we had to check in. Holy moly!
Yeah, and then you'd say who your prospects were, and somebody said, can you name those prospects?
Weren't they up there 3 weeks ago?
Exactly. It's like you've been sandbagging that deal for the last month. That's bullshit. Take it off.
Yeah.
So it was brutal, but I'll tell you what is the best training. It's not just financial training. This is life training.
Yeah.
You learn to become a human being. You learn how to deal with everything that the world is right now throwing at people.
Now let me show this here, okay? This here is the outside of the BI triangle. This is the inside. This is military school. Right. But this is the first word we're taught in the U.S. military. Kings Point, first word was the mission. And my best friend, Larry Clark, he was a Mormon missionary. Those boys can sell.
No kidding. No kidding. You got to get dropped off in a neighborhood in a foreign country with nothing, and you're selling God. I mean, it's like
that's what Larry said.
How difficult, how impossible is that kind of a sale?
Well, when Larry, I was interviewing with him, trying to get hired at Xerox. Larry's sitting there and I'm sitting there. at all these little goofy little Asian kids with their little MBAs sitting there, like these nice haircuts. I'm in my Marine Corps outfit, and Larry's sitting there in his Mormon outfit. And we're sitting there like this. And the guy asked Larry, he says, what makes you think you can sell? He says, I've been selling Catholics in Northern Ireland, Mormonism. He says, if you can sell God, you can sell anything.
That's no joke. That's
Larry,
no joke.
To this day, Larry has the highest conversion rates of Catholics to Mormonism in the history of the church.
That's amazing.
But they're trained to sell from birth. I'm going to be a happy little missionary and all this. And the Marine Corps this is your mission. And without that, there's no spirituality in your life. You can rip people off, which the banks are doing, which is Yellen is doing, which is the Treasury is doing, and Wall Street's doing. But why do it that way? You have to live with yourself,
Yeah, selling is not about deception. Selling is not about lying. Selling is about the truth. It's about going in and telling the hardcore truth and finding out what somebody wants.
Find the need and fill it.
That's right, and magnify it, because sometimes people forget about their problems and they're looking for a quick, easy solution. Well, sometimes there aren't. And you got to be the person to sell them on what will work for them.
So the unemployment rate's about to spike because our banks are going down big time. So a lot of the retirement plans are going down. So that's why, I'm very honored to have my friend Blair for 40, 50 years now. We started off selling together. We're still selling. We travel the world actually selling, teaching a form of selling. I'm a best-selling author. I'll never get a Pulitzer Prize, and I really don't want one because I have the money. Excuse me, is that your money in my pocket? Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Right, Blair?
Harry Barujas.
And,
that's right.
And the people are happy. People, well, thank you. I read your book, man. It changed my life and all this stuff. That's what you do it for. You don't do it to cheat somebody. You don't do it to cheat people. And that's what people think salesmanship is.
Unfortunately, you're right. It is. It's about finding what people want and helping them get it. That's it. That's it.
So anyway, Sarah, you know what I mean? It's going to be an interesting time, but I'm going to say right now, we're going to, unemployment's about to go through the frickin' roof. And if you can't sell, you'll be looking for somebody to give you some money. And you'll say, well, I deserve it. I'm a victim and I'm all this stuff. I'm black, I'm white, I'm a woman, I'm gay, I'm this. You'll find some excuse to have people feel sorry and pathetic for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people want to be taken care of. They want to say, well, I deserve something.
I'm a victim.
Yeah, but the truth of it is in life, it's been the same way for thousands of years. Is that if you've got something to offer, that's not good enough. You got to be able to sell it. You got to be able to let people know what you got. Some of the best products and services on the planet nobody ever heard about. Why? Because a person thought that the product would sell itself.
Yeah. But you look at some of our greatest entrepreneurs today, like this guy Elon Musk. Boy, that boy can sell. Steve Jobs, man, could he sell?
That's right.
Bezos and these guys can sell. And they sell themselves and they'll do all that. But that's the number one skill of an entrepreneur. Sarah.
I want to jump in here real fast because an average person, I think, is used to it being sold. I go to the car dealership, I get sold, but really, if you're an entrepreneur, you're selling to raise capital, you're selling your idea. I mean, it's much bigger than selling, a car or whatever.
As my rich dad said to me, how's your sex life? He's none. It's just because you can't sell. I've never forgot those words. I went, you know what I mean?
So even as we head into dangerous times for entrepreneurs or business owners who are currently owning businesses, that ability to sell to raise capital or to survive the next wave is just as important as selling yourself.
It's critical. I mean, now more than ever. I mean, with unemployment going up, with jobs being lost.
But more than that, when the customers are disappearing because they don't have money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So Sarah's a fantastic question you just asked. So I'm in business, I'm an entrepreneur. What's going to happen in 3 weeks or 4 weeks today? Your customer's gone. What are you going to do? They're broke.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Or they panic and they go into hibernation.
That's right. I remember you said when the pandemic hit, you brought me over to your house and we sat down. It was like the day after the lockdown. And you sat me down and you looked at me and go, okay, Blair, so is your customer today the same customer that you had last week?
Yep.
And my brain went, no, it's not.
No.
It's not anymore. And so part of sales is not just about being able to pitch. Part of it is to find your audience, to find out what's needed, be able to serve the community that's ready for you.
You've got to change as times change.
Yeah.
And I'm saying again, I just cannot believe how much unemployment is hitting us. But again, this is the era of what did I say? Betrayal and deception and betrayal. Oh, unemployment is nil. It's high. I mean, it's nothing. Oh, the economy is really good. I'm going, how in the world can you say that? How in the world? I go around, look at all the malls and all that. The stores are, vacant. I mean, people are shutting up their businesses. Real estate's going to crash. I was talking to this real estate company yesterday. They said, yes, but doesn't real estate always go up? I said, what have you been smoking, George? Do you know what I mean? They live in the past.
Yeah.
Speaking of the past, your careers spread generations.
Yeah.
Maybe a generation.
Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Appreciate
I just
that.
want to, as you're in the field and you're teaching people to sell, is there a difference with the mindset of, what you were teaching in the 80s versus today with digital technology? Has that all shifted and changed what the fundamentals are?
No, the fundamentals are exactly the same. The
Technology changed.
The technology changed. And people seem to think that because the technology changed that I can get away with that. That's why so many people are like, I'll buy, pay me money, I'll give you leads. They still can't convert the freaking leads. So they're wasting money on purchasing leads, and they're still not making any money because they don't know how to sell. Technology doesn't cover for the principles.
And I just wanted to bring up that point because
It's a good point.
I feel like Gen Zers, the newest generation in the workforce, they're the land of influencers and online digital selling, but they're not really selling. They just have a platform.
Well, they reach mass audiences, which is good.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Reach is good, but how do you convert?
Right.
And then how long-term do you go and all that?
Mm-hmm.
So again, the seminar is called, Rich Entrepreneur, Poor Entrepreneur. Just because you're making money doesn't mean you're rich. You've got to convert your money into an asset that provides income for the rest of your life. That's what we'll be talking about April 6th, 7th, 8th. Go to richdad.com. I am selling hard right now because the seats are going fast, right, Sarah?
Yep. We are actually, I'm distracted because I just got a notification the hotel's sold out.
Oh, God.
We sold out all of our rooms, which is good. That's a good problem to have. They'll have to be at the hotel next door. So yeah, we're getting flooded with emails in these last 2 weeks before the event.
Yeah.
I want in.
Yeah. Can I get a discount?
That's actually a big question.
We offered one a little while ago, but you were sound asleep, sweetheart. You know what I mean? Snooze, you lose in this world.
Yep.
But the thing is, this is the April 6th, 7th, 8th, this rich entrepreneur, poor entrepreneur. I'm not doing the teaching. Once I already know everything. I'm going, how much money do you have? That's an objection. So I just respond with, how much money do you have? Yeah, but I know everything. It's a Chihuahua mentality or a big dog mentality.
You read it, you didn't learn it.
Yeah. If you can't do it, as I say, don't watch what a person says, watch what they do. And it's an area of, corruption and delusion, betrayal, delusion, deception and betrayal right now. I cannot believe, this afternoon, this is be gone by then, but Sarah and I are doing an emergency podcast. It's a broadcast of Janet Yellen, who was Fed chairman, and now she's Secretary of Treasury. A little conflict of interest there. But she just said something that was the biggest warning of all. But you can't understand it because she doesn't speak English. She speaks in a different language, call it Fed speak. And it's the biggest warning of all. So this afternoon, Andy Scheckman and I from Miles Frankton, he's going to decipher what she just said. And so that's what we do here. We do our best to translate, what these phony baloney PhDs talk about.
Well, like you said, it comes back to the topic we're talking about, which is selling. I mean, the ability like you say, the ability to put money on the table, the ability to sell yourself, the ability to sell yourself to yourself.
But it's also long-term wealth.
Yeah.
I know. We all know guys who made a lot of money. They're broke today, and they're going more. Many more are going broke right now because of 401ks are going down because when they raise interest rates, stock market crashes. When they raise interest rates, bond markets crash. And that's systemic. It's all over the world. Bond markets are crashing. Oh, no. But was it the Fed Chairman Powell came up and he says, oh, it's just isolated to central Silicon Valley.
Transitory or something.
It's transitory. No, it's systemic. Two different words. So when we come back, we'll be talking more about what sales is. You know, sales basically is show me the money, put it in my pocket, and then let's translate it into long-term cash flow.
Right.
Because that's what we do. That's what we're doing on April 6th, 7th, 8th in Phoenix, Arizona. And my one thing I trust about Sarah, she doesn't lie. If there's no rooms, you're SOL. You have to figure that out. Ask one of your woke friends what SOL means. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. And as you know, this is March 2023. The dates are important simply because the world economy is crashing right now. And I've been saying this, forever, right?
Forever.
Yeah, because Blair and I are students of a man named Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. He wrote a book called Grunge of Giants. I don't recommend it, but Grunge stands for Gross Universal Cash Heist. Came out in 1984, I believe, posthumously.
Yeah. Right.
And then he talked about what grunge stands for as gross universal cash heist. Simply said is how the world banks steal your wealth via your money. And that's why I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad. The rich don't work for money. We don't save money. You know, I don't have a 401k. I don't want an IRA. I don't want any of those things because I'm an entrepreneur. And that's a very big difference. So this is our time right now. I mean, how many years have you been hearing me yakking about buying silver, starting your own businesses?
As long as I've known you.
Long.
That's a long time.
Yeah. So anyway, this is Blair Singer. This is his book here, Sales Dogs. Code of honor is crucial. You know, just on the phone today with one of the people showing out to teach. He and I were both Marine pilots in Vietnam. Today is Congressman Jack Bergman. He's flying in for a few hours because what Marines say is Semper Fi. Semper Fi means forever loyal. And we don't have that today. I mean, people F everybody so fast these days. You know, we've had a number of them work for our CEOs and CFO of our company, Rich Dad here. They're criminals. But that's what they're taught to do at business school. Lie, cheat, and steal. So it's a horrible time. So that's why we're having this event April 6th, 7th, 8th, Scottsdale, Arizona. And Sarah just said, how many rooms went out last night? 60.
That's what we had left yesterday.
So it's selling. And then if you miss, you know, as they say, snooze, you lose. Final words, Blair, on sale, because sales equals income. If you can't sell, you know, no sex, no money, no honey. Man, that's how it goes.
That's right. Well, sales is not just your number one skill in business. I think it's your number one skill in life.
Yes.
Because the toughest sell of all is you selling you to you. Because in these difficult times, it's much easier to pull up the electric blanket, turn it on to womb, and try to forget about it.
Yeah.
But you can't. And the world's coming fast and furious. So your ability to sell yourself, to get up, keep going, keep learning, keep selling, is going to be probably one of the best growth experiences as you go through. That's why in the program when 6th, 7th, and 8th,
yeah,
we're going to be working on it. You're going to walk out of that program with a higher level of emotional stability and grit than you came in with.
Yeah, but you're going to meet the team who did all this for me. I don't do this stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's the product guys and all this stuff. You're going to meet them, and this is Tom Wheeler, my accountant. This is how Kenny McElroy will be there. The system is I've got to buy real estate because if I don't buy real estate, I pay taxes. And Tom and I don't want to pay taxes. So, what are you going to teach me? I said, I have an MBA. I said, you can take this, asshole. But anyway, that's what April 6th, 7th, and 8th is. You'll meet all of these guys on the team. But most important, what's your mission in life? You know, just to keep your job? Oh, my God. I swear to God, millions of people are about to lose their jobs because this economy is crashing, because this is a time of deception and betrayal. And it starts at the highest levels of government, the highest levels of government. I mean, when Biden went up there and he said, yeah, we're going to bail out all these banks, but the taxpayer won't pay for it. Oh, my God. Did you believe that really? Who's going to pay for it? You're going to pay for it one way or the other. You're going to either pay it for taxes, but you're also going to pay it through inflation. So he comes up with the Inflation Reduction Act, IRA. All it was a Green New Deal. All it was is a Green New Deal, nothing to do with inflation. These guys, Deception and betrayal is the highest I've ever seen it. And it starts in our school systems. So Blair, final word, last word on this whole thing.
Well, like I said, the last word on this whole thing is that, like we said, sales equals income. Toughest sale is you selling you to you. But the other part of it is if you've got a gift, if you've got something to offer to the world, then it's your obligation to learn how to sell, because the world is going to need good products, good services in the coming years more than ever before. And if you can't sell it, then two people lose. You lose because you didn't sell
Your
it.
family loses.
Your family loses, and the person that could have received the benefit of what you got loses too.
Yep.
So it's a societal thing too.
And there's, in this era of no job security, number one skill of an entrepreneur is
To sell.
final word, Sarah.
No, I just appreciate Blair coming on today, and I look forward to hearing you April 6th, 7th, and 8th. I think you summed it up in that one. This is not a number one skill of an entrepreneur. It's the number one skill of life.
Right.
Because if you really break down of all the areas that you'll be able to use it, these skills, more successful.
Yeah. And Blair's one who says, sales equals income, but the toughest sales job is yourself.
Correct.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the Rich Dad Show. Thank you, my friend, for all these years and years and years and years.
And hopefully many more.
Many more. No, hopefully. We'll do it, man. And Sarah, thanks very much. Thank you all for watching the Rich Dad Radio Show. Thank you.